Hi everyone, my name is Ben Gerbrecht, and with me is Kristin Van Tilburg. And we just recently connected because we got certified from the same coaching program. So through our conversation, we realized that we had some things in common. For example, our love of Brendon Burchard's work. For those who aren't familiar, Brendon is a author and trainer who specializes in self-development and also marketing. So he's written 6 books, and today we thought we'd share a couple quotes from one of his books. So, Kristin, I know you've attended one of his events and I've attended one, but why don't you let the others know what book we chose to talk about today?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite Brendan Burchard books is the Motivation Manifesto. Does that show up for you as backwards? The print?
No, that's perfect.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Well, it almost looks like a little Bible. It's called the Motivation Manifesto, and then the subtitle is Nine Declarations to Claim Your Personal Power. And
Hmm.
and these days and times when I think there's a lot of chaos going on in the world and people are really feeling victimized by circumstances that are out of their control, I think this book is a real resource for going back and claiming those aspects of life that we do have control over, which, in my opinion, falls mainly into those thoughts that we think, our own mindset.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting. I've had the book for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I know we wanted to talk about a couple of quotes here. So, what quote did you pick out from the book that you wanted to talk about today?
I was thinking, how am I ever going to just pick one thing? And so what I ended up doing was just flipping through the book, and it opened to this page, and I just put my finger down, and
Yeah.
it was something I wasn't inspired by. I wasn't going to go ahead with it, but it fell on Declaration number 7, we shall amplify love. And the exact quote that my finger fell on is to stand emotionally open before the world and give of our hearts without fear of hurt, attachment, or demand of reciprocity. That is the ultimate act of human courage. This is the ultimate experience of personal freedom. And when I read that, I thought, wow, that really is a powerful expression of what I perceive my mission to be in the world. Um, we don't know each other that well, Ben, but 2 years ago, my partner died. And when that happened, it was just a complete reset of my entire life. And, um, it was a devastating blow. And I thought, I didn't really know how I would go on. And as time went by, I realized it wasn't even just that I lost him and and the relationship between us, but I lost the future that we had planned together. I lost the dreams that we had shared. I lost the support that we gave each other. And so it really took me back into this condition of asking myself, who am I and what am I here for? And what happened in the time of healing that I went through is that God showed me that even though his physical body was gone, that I actually still could access the unconditional love that there was between us as a present moment experience, even without his physical body. And the power of that was so restorative, that it changed the mission that I had in the world to be a voice for unconditional love. And so when I just opened this book randomly and fell on that place, I thought, golly, talk about synchronicity.
Hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think it's so true. You can just flip open and just pick anything. And I love Brendan's writing. And this particular book has a different style because it's kind of a throwback to the classics of self-development. So, but either way, very powerful. Yeah, I'm just looking at that quote that you had there, and what I want to highlight is that being emotionally open is, just a summary of that is the ultimate act of human courage. That really makes me think of Brene Brown's work. Are you familiar with her?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of her quotes is, or just just a very simple piece is courage equals vulnerability. And I think that's so true. And because you can't really do anything that requires courage without being vulnerable. So that really speaks to that is, when you're moving into a new calling or trying to find new meaning in life, it's very vulnerable. So I appreciate you sharing that. And hopefully other people can relate to that in whatever situation they're going through, is just having the courage to feel the fear and take steps anyway, take steps forward. So the quote that I found, and instead of flipping through the book, I actually went online to check out some of them, and I picked one, and it says, "Unless we are being chased by a deadly animal or deranged human, or face imminent physical harm like falling to our death, fear is just bad management of our mind." And so when I think of that, I think it really relates to the kind of coaching work that we do, which involves using emotional freedom techniques. Because really, anytime when we are experiencing any form of anxiety or stress or nervousness, it's really just our nervous system reacting to some form of stimuli, whether it's real or imagined. So, for example, I think public speaking is one that a lot of people can relate to. Um, myself, I'm in Toastmasters, and so every time I see a new member in there, I always see how terrified people look. It's like the deer in the headlights, and I was like that myself too. But within a few weeks, you just see that fear changing from panic to, what, this is actually it's exciting, because you know that you have something to share. So I see it as kind of a continuum from fear to excitement, and I think the work we do is really showing people that there is more possibility to move within that. So yeah, so I think it's really about honoring our emotions, and recognizing that there is more room to grow personal freedom in whatever way that is. So, was there any closing remarks or things that we want to give to our viewers here about this book, or any of the quotes that we discussed?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with your comments because it's so interesting that this word courage, its Latin root is heart.
Mm,
And I think that, I mean, I'm not saying this is a whole, general rule forever and ever, but I think a lot of times fear is when we're up in our mind, up in our head, trying to figure things out. All these neural networks are getting triggered and firing off, and this mammalian or lizard brain, I guess it is, that is so survival oriented. That's when fear is so strong. But when
hmm
we learn that capacity to drop that energy down into the heart, that's where the connection is. That's where this unconditional love, that in my opinion is the energizing, unifying, creative force of all life, that's where that we can have that ability to tap into that. And
hmm
out of that place of fullness and connection, then we're actually able to give more and to be more focused on giving and not about what our own personal needs are.
Yeah.
Public speaking is such a great example because if you focus on yourself and you focus on your perceived limitations, that creates fear and anxiety. If you can focus on your audience and what they need and what you have to give them, then it just puts you in a whole different position. Do you find that experience in Toastmasters?
Yeah, it's very true, and I think that's the secret sauce, is that the more you think about the other person, the less you are thinking about those anxious thoughts and feelings. And to relate to that, I received a coaching session from a friend of mine recently, and she was explaining. She provided the example of another friend of hers who's a coach, and she was terrified of doing Facebook Live videos, and her coach really insisted that she get on there and try, even though she was afraid. And I think she fought every step of the way, but um, she went on there and talked about something that was very passionate to her. I don't know what the topic was, but afterwards, after it happened, this woman got a message from someone who saw the Facebook Live, and what was in that message was just incredibly powerful, because this woman opened up and said that she was about to commit suicide, and it wasn't until that she saw this woman go on Facebook Live and share her message that kind of, interrupted her pattern. And um, and so I think just to get a message like that is huge. So it really puts things into perspective, because I think it's normal for all of us to have these anxieties and feelings, and when you're especially up on stage, when your heart's racing, and you might be thinking, what's the worst case scenario? Are people going to judge me, and things like that? So to just take a calm breath and center yourself and keep yourself grounded with the reasons why you're doing these, and what's the message you want to impart to your audience, that really just opens up possibilities for getting more experience and practicing. So, because it's really not about, because what I find is that people don't necessarily care what you look like, or what shirt you're wearing, if the message resonates with them. So that's been my experience. And as I take steps forward, and putting myself out there, public speaking, is I always try to remember that is what message can I give, because you really never know what people need in that moment. So.
I agree, Ben. It's much more about what we have to give, if we let it be that.
Hmm.
So maybe that's a good place to stop today. We just want to thank you for watching, and look forward to talking again soon.
Great, this was fun. Let's keep the conversations going. Best of luck, everyone.